We'll just start with this issue of advisors. I want to be very brief on it so that I can move to student accommodation chair, because I think my interaction with the minister has sort of given me a rough understanding of the shadiness that has happened there. But I just want to clarify it with the administrator. Administrator, when you were writing to the minister to seek approval for the appointment of advisors, in your letter to him, did you have detail that wants approval for the remuneration of the 4 advisors?
No, I didn't put salaries on the letter. I've put the expertise that are required, and I determined the salaries.
So, in as far as what you have communicated with the minister, there wouldn't be any approval of remuneration because you didn't include any of that.
No, I didn't ask him to approve salaries. I've asked for him to approve the particular skills that was required in terms of Section 17B and the Government Gazette, which is the necessary expertise and
No,
and
thank
that's
you.
all I did.
And then, according to your knowledge, have any of the advisors been remunerated?
Yes, they have been paid.
Which of them have been paid?
All of them.
How were they paid?
Well, they received an advice as they started. They received 2 advice. First advice is to say, you can either choose to go through the payroll or for...
With respect, Administrator, I don't want you to give that because I've got 15 minutes only.
Yeah, sure.
So if you could just answer me, how were they paid?
No. So they were paid in their bank accounts. So the 2 went through the HR payroll system, the other 2 through their companies.
So if these individuals are appointed as employees, I imagine, 17B, which legal basis would you have to pay their companies as opposed to paying them as a normal payroll?
Yeah, so they are not employees. They are not employees. So they are appointed as advisors, so to say, and that is the advice that they were given on how they can choose how to be paid. So they elected.
Where did they get the advice from?
Well, from the company secretary, 1, and 2nd they asked from HR what would be the best way to be paid, and that's how.
So at NSFAS, you can pay a company without having undergone any SEM process.
Honorable member, my information is that this is not the first time it has happened. Board members have been paid through their companies, and previous advisors, I'm told, they have been paid through their companies.
That's not my question, Prof. I'm not asking you what happened in the past. I'm asking you now because you're an administrator that is supposed to come and fix the mess at NSFAS that you speak so boldly of. So you can't then, in the same breath, then speak of tendencies which you yourself are actually supposed to come to NSFAS and fix. So the question I'm asking, can you pay a company at NSFAS without having undergone a competitive SCM process in line with your PFMA, in line with Section 217 of the Constitution?
It appears like you could, right? And as I say, these people have been given an advice, and they followed through that particular advice. In the instance where this has been wrong, we'll then have to fix that. I actually called in the senior manager responsible for SCM to say, but what happened in this instance? And he did flag to me that the mistake that has happened there is that these companies were not submitted to be done spot checks, because that is necessary to be done. Alternatively, what should have happened is that we should, in the contracting, we should have then contracted the company so that we pay through that particular company.
So you agree that the 2 companies were not contracted, but they were paid?
The companies have not been contracted. We contracted the individuals.
Yes, but you paid the company.
Yeah.
Remember, a company is a juristic person. As someone in the banking space, I think you understand that very well.
I agree with you. the point I'm making is that the people have been given an advice and they follow through that advice.
Okay. Now, understanding 17C of the NSFAS Act, and
No, maybe before you move away from from this point, so Administrator, you are brought in to fix problems at NSFAS. And because you are brought in to fix problems, it would have meant that not everything that was done there would have been correct. So you've been given a government gazette, so I'm appointing you to go and fix. And with your experience, I'm sure you would have known that, firstly, when you appoint an advisor, firstly, you and them would have agreed. In fact, I know that because you did a TV interview about how much it will cost the administration. You said it's 9.8 or 9.9 million, I can't remember, but you did say so. So you had a figure, you had agreed with them. So when you were agreeing with them, this figure, you did not agree how they are going to be paid, or how are they contracted as individual, as advisors, or they are contracted as companies. And I'm hoping they were contracted as individuals, because then it will be easier to explain. But if they were contracted as companies, then it means tomorrow, as an administrator, you can appoint. You can go to Pretoria and sign a lease without a process and say, no, I arrived here and I realized I liked this building and I'm the administrator, I'm signing this deal without a competitive process. So you may give a company, so that's the part I'm hoping, you'll not say it's relevant. So I'm hoping you will say that you contracted them as individuals to give advisory services. But obviously it will depend on what you will say. So what was the conversation? How did you agree with these advisors? Or you said they must go to HR and senior manager advise them different. So you did not have a conversation with them on how they're going to be retained.
So, Chair, I think there start to be a context around, these things. And yes, being an administrator, what you do is you contract with people, all right? And you have to have a trust on the system that is there, right? I don't run payroll. There's HR people that must advise people. I have brought the people in. I sign with them. The contracts must go back into HR. They then get to be advised. You can elect this route or that route. Honestly, the issue then get raised after the people have been paid. We then have to look at that process and say, well, what happened here, all right? But to expect that I will then have run the payroll system or the HR process and not have trusted the HR executive to advise them correctly, I wouldn't have immediately assumed that they are going to be advised incorrectly if they have been advised incorrectly, right? So That's the first thing. And I do accept that your point is to hold me because I'm the administrator for every little detail, inclusive of the booking. So you have to hold me there. I'm fine with that because I take ultimate accountability. But I'm saying I have appointed these people on the basis that they have the requisite experience, they comply with Section 17B in terms of the necessary experience, and I've had them to be concurred to by the minister. The letters were processed through the company secretary's office. Mine is to sign with them this agreement. Then they get advised, you can be paid in one or two ways, and they choose whichever way they choose. And no one had then flagged that before any processing and come back to me and say, Mr. Administrator, by the way, there's a problem here, right? Because then we will not have paid. Then we will have said, no, hold on a second. The best way is that you have been contracted as an individual, therefore you need to be paid as an individual. That advice did not come back. If that advice exists, Chair, I'll want somebody to show that to me. Because that is the question that I asked, right? To say, SCM manager, what happened here? Finance people, what happened here? Because that did not come back to me, right? It is something that get processed there. When it comes to me to say, well, here's an invoice for these people, I then have to assume that the people have processed this thing correctly because the invoice came from finance, right? And then I signed it, right? Finance people didn't come back to me and say, look, we have a problem with this, with this invoice. They said, this invoice needs to be signed by the administrator. I signed it.
Sorry, one of the two advisors you got was a legal advisor, correct? So you have four advisors.
Yeah.
One of them is a legal advisor.
No.
So the first one is advising in what? The first two to be appointed, it was advising on what?
It was governance.
Press the mic.
It was governance, and then it was in communication and stakeholder engagement.
So you don't have a legal advisor.
No, I don't. I still want one.
You don't have an advisor on legal.
Sorry?
Okay.
No, I don't. I use the internal legal people.
Okay. And then the second part is when you were signing, you were not, given your experience, and I want to tap into experience, that you are signing two companies, and you probably should have asked, where are the rest? And they would have said, no, the other two are being paid as on the payroll. So you would have asked that particular question. Did it not at least occur to you at the time that something is wrong? And before you signed, you could have then asked or no, but this thing doesn't sound good. That did not occur.
Chair, maybe it is correct to then suggest that each and every act by all the employees of NSFAS must be doubted, right? Which I don't think it is necessarily correct. You need to establish the level of dishonesty before you can doubt professionals in terms of the work that they do. Because otherwise then you should just arrive there, remove everybody and do things yourself, right? I'm saying I sign an agreement with people. They go back into the system, which is HR, and HR advises them. You could be paid using the payroll, and you could be paid using your own company, right? Whatever the explanation that was. Then the two first ones elected, because they don't have companies, elected to go through payroll, right? The other two, because they themselves have been people that were in business out before they join us, they were running their own companies, elect that they are going to be paid using their companies, and all the necessary statutory requirements are going to be met. That's the advice that they get given. Two, when these payments needs to be made, amongst the documents that get brought to me is this invoices. I ask, where do these invoices come from? I say, no, it comes from finance. You need to authorize them, right? It is for this person, and in that, their names are there, and their staff number is reflected there. So for me, because already there is an advice from HR that has been given to these people, and now it's coming from finance. Finance is not saying to me, hold on a second, by the way, we can't do this, right? It's saying all that is requires that the administrator must sign, right? I then sign it, right?
So does
and
that mean,
and then the payment get processed.
does that mean if finance can give you a document to sign to pay for your own salary, you'll sign because it comes from finance? That's what the logic is about you signing a document because it comes from somebody else. You can't say the reason I signed is because it comes from finance.
No, Chair. I think uinametsa thaba isa channel. I'm saying to you, right? The people have been given advice that they can be paid in one of two ways. They've elected this way, consistent with that advice, right? Finance brings this,
Yes.
right? Not as a flag.
Yes.
They are not flagging that there's an issue.
Yes.
And knowing finance in NSFAS, if there was an issue, they would have said, listen, there's an issue here. Please attend to it. And I would have attended to it.
Yes.
So that did not happen, right? It is part and parcel of the things that I need to be able to approve. And at the back of the fact that there have been this advice, I've acted accordingly, right? This thing then gets to be reported in the newspapers. Now it has been released to the newspapers. I then ask the question, okay, so what happened here, right? I called the senior manager SCM. Look, what happened here, right? Because he doesn't process, by the way. So I asked him because there was an issue around SCM. So I was talking to him from perspective of SCM. What did we do wrong, right? Now I'm asking for his counsel. What did we do wrong here? And he says to me, Administrator, what needed to have happened is that in the contracting, maybe you should have inserted, even though you're contracting with the individual, then in the contract it should have reflected that this person is gonna be paid via the company. So that has not been done. And the reason why we will need to have been able to do is to check the companies, right? Is it complied with tax? Is it's not blacklisted and all those kind of things. Very valid stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with him. I then say to him,
I don't want us to leave here at one.
What then do we do?
Yeah, I don't want us to leave here at one, Administrator. I don't mind.
Yeah.
But you have a 6 o'clock flight. And when it leaves you, you are going to blame us. That we have costed, but the problem is you are taking. So, Honorable Lonzi's question was, do you think it was right to pay them through their companies? Now you are saying you got advice from SCM manager to say it was not right because you did not include the clause that says we could have said we could pay to this company. So in essence, it has taken us 18 or 19 minutes to get you to answer his question, which was, no, it was not right to pay to the company on the basis that we had not done this probate or whatever that you're talking about on the companies. There's a word that you used there. On the company, that is what you've just said to us. You say the SCM advised you that if you were to pay to the company, there is a process you are supposed to do which you did not do. I'm wrong. I'm not hearing you.
No, Chair. I think you're conflating issues. So I've answered Honorable Lonzi on the question he has asked, right? And then I further volunteered information to you, which further indicates, and this information is post facto, right? That I'm saying to you, to show that I then had to do what I needed to do, which is to then say, hey, okay, there is this thing that is being raised. Yes, there was this advice that was given. People acted in the manner that they've acted, and they've been assured that it was right. But now, because SCM is being raised, I'm asking from you as the senior manager at SCM, what went wrong here? So separate the two, Chair. I don't think, because the way you're putting it as if I was trying to avoid Honorable Lonzi's question, and now I'm now coming back to it. No, I'm volunteering information for you, so for purposes of completeness.
No, the question is now, this is, he's asking you today, do you think it was right to pay them through companies? That's what his question is. He's not saying, you could have said at the time, we felt it was correct, but there's more information that subsequently came, which is the information I got from supply chain manager who said there's a process that we could have followed. But this thing, then you put context. They were advised that they can do it either this way or that way. But if they had chosen the B part, which is what the question was, then there was a process that we should have taken that we did not take, which is to check the legitimacy of these businesses, whatever the case. I don't know what you said. But the point is, his question was, Administrator, do you believe it was right, or it is right to pay these advisors as companies? And he said, yes, because it has been done. And then now you are saying, you then got advice from supply chain after you went and asked them, what is it that happened? So I'm not conflating issues. This is the information that is here before us, is that you are now admitting, and there's nothing wrong in admitting that because of this process that we've just explained of verifying whatever the word you used, these companies, and which was not done, then it was not correct for us to pay them through the companies. They may have submitted invoices, but in order for us to pay an invoice, there's a process that was supposed to follow, and the process has not been followed. It's like somebody saying, you have accepted a quotation for 10,000 laptops. Maybe I'm making a wrong example about laptops because I saw you posting. Somebody has submitted invoices, a quotation for 10 cars. And you don't know, there's a process that must be followed before the quotation is paid, right? Which will be to check if there was delivery, there was X, Y, and Z. If that process was not done, paying that whatever invoice would not be the correct thing to do. And that's what we've just been explaining. And I thought you were explaining it correct. But now, because I'm merging it with the first question of Honorable Lonzi, you want to refuse it. But his question was simple. Was it right to pay these people through a company? And the answer now, I'm sure you'll say it's no, it was not right. Because even though there was a process that allowed them to submit through a company, we had not verified these companies, and therefore, when we paid them, it was not right to pay them. And there's no harm in saying so. But in saying, no, there was nothing wrong, and then saying, now after I had asked, maybe there was no step jumped, it doesn't help us. It looks like we're defending unnecessary. I don't think it's necessary to defend here. It's simply to say, no, it was not right to pay them there, and here is context. Honorable Mr.
No, Chair, umuntu uyagula manje. Yazi, I'm reminded of the time you got almost deformed when we were dealing with UL. I think I'm dying, Chair. I don't think I'll even ask questions. But, Chair, here we have finance through the CFO. We have a supply chain, head of supply chain or senior manager here that the administrator is referring to. I'm certain that we have HR somewhere here. I know Honorable Lonzi is not short of questions or tactics of asking his questions, but on this one in particular, because the administrator is saying there was advice from HR. If HR is here, HR must assist us. Head of supply chain must assist us. Finance through the CFO and whom I think there was a senior manager of finance. They must assist us so that we are able to determine who did wrong before the administrator was giving invoices. But the administrator also said that these are not employees, so the administrator must tell us if they are consultants, therefore whom then they can invoice, or they are employees, because you can't be both. You either a consultant, then you are paid through a company that is going to be verified through all the right channels that the administrator is unpacking, through SCM processes as well, or you are an employee, but you can't be both. So the administrators must also clarify what service are they rendering. Are they rendering it as consultants, or are they appointed as advisors, as individuals, therefore must be paid through payroll? Thanks, Chair.
So what are you suggesting now? Honorable Lonzi ask questions.
Oh, no, I was saying, I didn't know they're here, SCM and HR. If they are here, Chair, I think they can respond to Mr. Zana's question.
What is the question? No, Sazana did not have a question. Sazana was saying you had a question.
Okay, maybe let me continue like this, Chair.
Yeah.
Do we have head of SCM here? All right. SCM, did you get an instruction from anyone at NSFAS to make the payments in this manner to the advisors?
No, I remember I did not.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not requested to provide an advice, but after learning the article, I went to the administrator to advise that the onboarding of companies should be done through SCM.
Okay, let me stop you there. So you are saying the correct process at NSFAS is that if you are going to pay a company, you ought to go through the SCM processes.
That's correct.
You can't have an advisor who's a staff member invoicing us with their company.
That's correct.
So that process was wrong, it was illegal.
Yes, hence I went to the administrator to provide an advice.
All right. No, thank you. Do we have HR here?
Yes, Honorable Member.
HR, can a staff member be paid through a company at NSFAS?
My response is going to be very brief for the simple reason that my role does not deal with appointments and or terminations. So what I heard from the administrator earlier when he was responding to questions, he said,
what is your position at NSFAS, Tata?
Employee relations.
Yeah, so as with your experience in employee relations, can a staff member be paid through a company at NSFAS? Leave this specific point. Let's say there's someone who is working at NSFAS as a PA of, I don't know, of IT.
Yeah.
Can that person at the end of the month say, instead of paying me through the typical payroll, I'm going to submit Matebula Pty Ltd, and you're going to pay me 250,000 rand in that company?
To the best of my knowledge, only employees as defined in the LRA section 213 thereof can be paid through payroll. That is as far as I know.
That's not my question. My question is, can a staff member be paid through a company at NSFAS?
No.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, administrator, and this is my last question on this point. I think this one will need public protector or AG or something to look at it. Did you give an instruction? Perhaps let me start this way. in your contracts with the advisors, did you have the amounts of how much they are going to be paid for their services?
Yes.
You had it?
Yes.
You just didn't submit it to the minister? Remember earlier on I asked you, when you were submitting a letter to the minister on the appointment of advisors, did you inform him of how much these people are going to be remunerated? Because remember, that remuneration, according to the NSFAS Act, must be approved by the finance minister. But you and Minister of Higher Education, you've got your own determination. You say he must approve. So I asked you, did you submit? And then you said no. When you were writing to him, you didn't speak about remuneration. You only spoke about appointments. So now I'm asking, you had amounts when you were signing a contract with your advisors, but you didn't inform the minister of those amounts.
Yes. I was very clear, Honorable Lonsi, that with specific reference to what I requested from the minister was to appoint advisors with specific reference to what is required in the government.
Then there were no amounts.
Yeah, there were no amounts.
The only
I was
amounts
very
were
clear.
between you and the advisors. How
So-
much did you agree to pay each of the advisors?
No, can I be complete, Honorable Lonsi?
Chair, are you able to pause my time so
Yeah,
that the
sure.
administrator can be complete?
Yeah, sure. So I'm saying there's two processes here. The first process is the process of requesting to appoint advisors, right? And I must stress, these are not employees of NSFAS, right? So we should differentiate those. And then, after I've gotten the approval to appoint the advisors, I then have to draft an appointment letter. It is in the appointment letter where there is amounts that I'm going to pay this specific individual based on whatever experience they've had or what it is that they may have been earning wherever they would have been if they were employed, or whatever conversation we'll then have had.
Now, you,
Maybe before.
Okay.
Just, I know sometimes you'll forget your point. Just write it down. Honorable Low and then Honorable Zondo. No, press the button.
Yes, I'm going to press. Chair, I've got a follow-up question, what the administrator have said, so that I'm able to fine-tune, because I'm quite confused. Because if the administrator is saying they were not under section 17B, as the minister have said earlier, they should be therefore appointed as commercial service providers. Now my question comes, was competitive bidding conducted for this contract as required by NSFAS own SCM policy for amounts over 1 million? If not, why? Was there a process applied of SCM? Because if they are not employees and they are providers, there should be fairness. Where you advertise, you give effect because they are not employees. So I wanted to check there, was the PFMA followed? If not, I'll come to my questions. I'm the last. Thanks.
Okay.
No, Chair, 17B doesn't say they are employees. It talks about the people that will assist the administrator, and that's that. But these are not employees, right? They are advisors whose term will be linked to the administrator. In this instance, they are not even linked to my term as the administrator. They have a 12-month contract, any of them, which may be renewed depending on the performance that they give. So no, they are not employees.
Hangarabache, advertisement SCM policies of NSFAS is very clear. When you appoint a service provider, you bid properly, you are transparent, you advertise. So when you appoint people, what did you do? Did you just get them from NSFAS? They were sitting there behind the offices.
Chair, again, 17B, let's confine ourselves there. 17B does not impose a responsibility on me to advertise. The only responsibility it imposes is that I must get people with requisite experience or expertise.
Chair, I'm not saying that. Chair, can I interject? Can I interject? I am saying, if they are not employees, they don't fall under 17B as per the Act of NSFAS. They go straight to be service providers, where as per the SEM of NSFAS, you must advertise competitively so to be fair and transparent, because you are paying them via a company that is a tax number they must be fair where they are going to provide. And the Act says you must appoint individuals who are going to assist you, which means in simple terms, you must appoint subordinates as employees, not as service providers.
Chair, I would leave your interpretation of that act to yourself, really, because I can't take the matter any further than what I've done. I can't interpret it in the manner you want me to interpret it. It is very clear from where I'm sitting. You differ, and I would like to allow you to differ.
Well, let's do this. Let's read section 17B. I think it's going to help us. You don't have it there. Okay, let me read it for you. It says assistance to the administrator. That's the heading. Then, then it says an administrator appointed in terms of section 17A may, with the approval of the minister, appoint any other person with suitable knowledge and experience to assist him or her in the performance of his or her function. So your understanding here is that any other person may mean or it means a person or a company. That's your interpretation, because members' interpretation, they are taking the any other person literal. That's what you are saying. Is that what you are saying to us? So does this mean when it says appoint any other person, in your view, it is subject to interpretation? This any other person may mean a company. That's what you are saying.
No, that's not what I said. All I'm saying is that doesn't mean an employee, right? So we may read it whichever we want to read it, but doesn't mean an employee.
What does
These
it mean?
people are not employees.
No problem.
Right? I define them as advisors with requisite experience or expertise for a limited period to assist me as the administrator. That's what it says. Any other input we want to attach to that, I think everybody is entitled to.
No, I think that point came from a point that if you appoint this any other person as a company, then we have a problem, because now it means somebody can accuse you tomorrow of cutting corners on appointing consultant companies at NSFAS. And then you pay them without what supply chain told you that is not correct, without doing X, Y, and Z. Because the reason why I wanted us to clarify this, any other person, like I said almost an hour ago, I don't think it's necessary to even defend this thing, in my view, because if I was you personally, I would have accepted that paying them through a company is not right, because that's what supply chain advised you after the effect. It's something that you now know. And it is not right, because the 17B that gives you the right to appoint them does not say, or any other company, any other person or company. It's very clear that it must be a person with the relevant skills and expertise. It's very clear. But what we want to do, want to be technical and say, no, it might be, if I was you about an hour ago, I would have agreed. Because that's the honorable thing to do, to agree that it was wrong to pay them through a company. because you know that, or you know that because supply chain came to you and told you, no, Chief, it was wrong to pay through a company. We made a mistake. Because if we're paying through a company, the supply chain processes that we should have followed. And that's what he have just said here. He said he told you, so you know. But 17B is very clear. So whether you want to admit it or not, and I want to appeal to your conscience, there's nothing wrong in accepting in retrospect or with the advantage of hindsight to accept that, yes, Mole, there was an oversight on my side or an oversight on the system. We made a mistake and, we look at fixing it. But the problem is, if we refuse to accept even something that is so blatant, then how are we going to have confidence moving forward that any other thing that we are going to ask, even if we don't have information on it, that, there will be, some truthfulness from yourself to clarify that, Mona, very simple, administrator. I don't think, I think you are the only person who can see how clear this thing is, that it was wrong. You know it was wrong because you are advised. And even before supply chain told us that they advised you confirmed that after it was reported, you then went and looked at it. And then you were told that there's a process that must be followed to verify some company or whatever before you pay. So it was not right. So I'm sure you are the only one who can see what the clear picture that all of us can see. And the clear picture is that it was wrong to pay. And we must agree that it was wrong to pay. Then we move on to other questions, because I have questions on my own on the matter. But you are not helping us if you are going to come and say, no, I deny everything. You are not going to help us. Because that's at least from where I'm seated, that's what I'm seeing you to be saying. To be saying, no, I'm denying everything. I'm on I don't want to incriminate myself mode. And it's not going to help us. Because, like I said at the beginning, we're not here to catch anybody out. But we are worried about this institution because of some of the actions that are taken at that institution that affect socially our students on the ground. So we want to fix. But if you want to sit here and say, no, I refuse, you keep your the interpretation is very clear. It's very clear that it must be a person. Your own advice from staff tells you it must be a person and not a company. If you want to bring in a company, there's a supply chain onboarding processes that you must follow. That has not been followed. So it can't be that difficult for us to conclude this matter. It has taken us over an hour, unnecessary.
No, Chair. So I think you want me to concede on something that I don't think I should concede on. And to that effect, I won't. So here is the thing. There are two different things that we need to deal with. I did not appoint a company. So Section 17B has been complied with. I did not appoint a company. So we need to park that because I'm not going to agree on that. To suggest that I've interpreted any other person to mean a company, it will be incorrect. And for me to accept that for the sake of accepting it, I think it will be wrong, right? So that's the first part. So if we can park that, then we can deal with the second aspect. The second aspect is the people got advice that they can be paid in one of two ways. One, payroll. Two, they can use their company. That post facto, I asked, so what happened here? And I got informed. If we were gonna pay using a company, then we needed to have inserted it into the contract, and it needed to have been clear, which has not been done. And I asked the SCM manager, and sitting here, I can confirm that. I asked the SCM manager, what then needs to be done, right? Because we then need to fix whatever else is a problem. If you say, I'm accepting that that was wrong. Yeah, I don't have a debate about that. What I have a debate about is to want to say that I've used 17B to appoint a company, which is not true. I appointed an individual who then elected to use a particular form of payment which turned out to be wrong, and nobody advised prior to payment. Post-payment, on my inquiry, I've been told this is what we should have done, and then I said, SCM, please do what needs to be done. Even today I asked, have we done that? And it indicated I've been traveling, we're gonna do what needs to be done. So from that perspective, I don't know what it is that I'm defending. I'm not defending anything. All I refuse is to conflate the two things and make it one. It's not one.
So you agree that it was wrong to pay the companies when they were paid into the company's account instead of individual, because there was a step that was not done.
To the extent that the advice is exactly that, yes, Chair. But I'm saying
But
do not conflate
that was the
two.
question from the beginning. And
No,
I
but
told
I
you.
never contested that.
No, you have. When I said to you, because you
also
said, no, he asked you a question, you said no. You guys were not wrong. That's when I stopped him and I entered. And I said, after some time, you then came and volunteered information to tell us that actually, when I followed this matter up, I was then told that we should not have paid into this account before this particular step is done. So that's all along I've been saying to you. You have wasted more than an hour on something that we could have simply said, I agree it was wrong to pay into that company. Because that was the question. The question was, Administrator, do you believe you are right in paying this company, to paying the salary of this person into this company? And you said, yes, it was right. Because these people were advised to either invoice as companies or individuals. That's why we've taken a whole hour on something that I've said, honestly speaking, I don't think it kills anybody to say, yes, we're wrong. Then we'll look at corrective measures. We could have possibly be finishing our meeting now.